Hi and welcome back. We are here at the Dictionaries and Students coding exercise, and this is a slightly longer and more complex exercise because we are progressing through the course and we are getting deeper into Python. So let's have a look. It has 3 parts. First one, create a dictionary variable called student. It's partially defined here, and we're going to look into exactly how we create this variable. Then we're going to modify a variable called grades down here so that it contains the value of a dictionary's key. We've got more information on the comments. And finally, we're going to implement a function calculating a total average grade for a class of students. We've, again, got more information on the comments. Let's go straight in. For the first one, we're going to create a variable called students that has a dictionary in it. And the dictionary has to contain 3 keys: name, school, and grades. Okay, so let's do that first. The dictionary, as we know, is with opening and closing curly braces. And then we're going to have name is something, school is something, and grades is something. We don't know what yet. Let's have a look. The values for each must be Jose for name, computing for school, and a tuple with the values 66, 77, and 88 for grades. Let's do that. The name has to be Jose, which is my name. School has to be computing. No, definitely not that. Computing, there we go. Normally I can spell. And the grades have to have a tuple with the values 66, 77, and 88. So we're going to delete that string, quotation marks, and we're going to put the tuple in here, 66, 77, and 88. Notice that because this is a tuple with multiple values, we don't need a comma at the end. In fact, we should not put it in there. Okay, so now we have our student, and we can move on to the next set of instructions. Assume the argument, data, which is the argument to this function here, is a dictionary. Modify the grades variable so it accesses the grades key of the data dictionary. Okay, so the grades variable right now doesn't equal anything, and we have to make it equal to the grades key of the data dictionary. Well, we know how to access a key in a dictionary. We just have to do data, which is our argument, our dictionary, grades. There we go. Now, the grades variable is accessing the grades key of the data dictionary. There we go. Some other students have done this, student grades, and that is a totally reasonable thing to do, except the student variable is a global variable that is available for every method and every function. So whenever we call this function here, this average grade function, we're always going to use this variable here instead of the argument, which is data. This means that if we call average grade with this variable here as an argument, then it will work fine. But if we call it with a different argument, then it will still use the student dictionary here and it will return incorrect data. So make sure to use I'm accustomed to pressing save at every few seconds. Make sure to use a data argument there. And finally, implement the function below, which is average grade for all students. Given a list of students, which as we know are dictionaries, calculate the average grade of the class. So given a list of students, that's this student list here, this is the list of our students, we must add all the grades of all students together, and you must also count how many grades there are in total in the entire list. Okay, so we have 2 variables, total and count. Presumably, total must be the sum of all the grades, and count must be the amount of grades that we have. And for each student in the student list, we have to add to these 2 variables so that at the end, it returns the total divided by the count, which should give us the average. So how do we calculate the total? Well, we can say total equals total plus the sum of the student grades. And remember, sum is going to add up all the values in a list or a tuple, and the student is each of the students in the student list. Student grades will give us that tuple, sum will give us the total of that tuple, and is going to modify the total variable so that it is the existing number of total plus the sum of this other student. and the count is going to be count equals count plus the length of the student grades. And that is going to give us the count of student grades for this student. It's going to add it to the existing count, and it's going to overwrite the count variable with that value. And at the end, we're going to return total divided by count, which is going to give us the average. Because it's quite common to do total equals total plus and count equals count plus with any variable, Python gives us a shortcut, which is plus equal. Plus equal. So this means the same thing. Total is going to add to the total the sum of the student grades, and it's going to add to the count the length of the student grades. Notice that if you do just count plus the length of the student grades, you are calculating what you want, but you are not assigning it back to the variable. So hence, this would not work. You need the equal sign there. Let's check the solution, and it should give us that all is correct. And indeed, there we go. So now we've learned a bit more about how this sort of works. Hopefully you managed to do this on your own earlier, but if not, hopefully this clears things up. I'll see you on the next video.